Point is conceded. Will you defer your motion to allow a commission to explore the validity of your accusations?
No. Kneel before Zod.
The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast. Hello there, and welcome to The Force of Others. I'm Zachary Owen Turner.
And I'm Matt Beutner, and today on The Force of Others, we're talking about Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy getting a sequel with Echoes of the Past, and a whole cast announcement. Matt Smith has been cast as the villain in Star Wars Starfighter. Ron Howard has some new quotes on the making of Solo, and we're going to review probably the most influential Star Wars novel ever in Heir to the Empire.
But book that I haven't read.
Well, you have now, right?
I have now, but...
I thought you were telling me, yeah, I didn't read it, so I'm going to make up this review. I was going to be like, Zach, no.
No, I'm in book 2.
But first, The Force of Others got a little weaker this week as we lost one of our Star Wars actors. And we Terence Stamp passed, and I'm going to give it over to Zach for our In Memoriam segment.
Yeah, Terence Stamp was a fantastic actor, very steeped in nerd lore for a lot of shows, most notably as Zod from Superman, if we're going to do Force of Other stuff. And for Star Wars, he was Chancellor Valorum in Episode 1, the one that they had a vote of no confidence in. But we have confidence in Terence Stamp, and we're going to do a little... just talk about his life a little bit. He was born on July 22nd, 1938, in London's East End to parents Ethel and Thomas. Stamp first came to prominence when he took on the titular role in 1962 film Billy Budd, which saw Stamp nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, the only Oscar nomination of his lengthy career. In a 2013 interview with British Film Institute, Stamp revealed that his father tried to deter him from a career in showbiz. He genuinely believed that people like us didn't do things like that, he said. But his mother, he said, loved every second of it. And what a career, what a life. I remember one of my favorite stories of Terence Stamp was right after the film, I think it was after Man of Steel came out, and there were people in the bathroom after watching it, and they were talking about, Zod and all of that, and they're like, yeah, this new guy's cool, but like the original, like kneel before Zod, like, oh, I was hoping he was gonna say that. And Terence Stamp was in the bathroom, and he walked behind them, looked in the mirror at them, like washing their hands, and he was like, kneel before Zod, and then just walked out.
That's awesome.
So he had a good little sense of humor as well. But what a voice, what a presence, what an actor. Anything you'd like to say, Matt?
Well, and what an actor. So the Star Wars story that gets thrown around about Terence Stamp. Of course, he also came back for a Clone Wars cameo. He was in the scene with Yoda in one of the Season 6 episodes. But is that famously, Terence Stamp only really agreed to do Star Wars Episode 1 because he was fascinated and captivated by Natalie Portman. He thought she was so talented, and he was so eager to do a scene with her. And his first day on set was in the Senate. And so he's in this big blue screen room, and there's a tennis ball on the far end. And he says, well, wait, where's Miss Portman? And George Lucas pointed at the tennis ball and said, that's Natalie Portman. She's right there. And he was like, well, but no, she's right there. Act to it. And like, it was like, oh, okay. And then, of course, they got to be in a scene together because they meet on the landing platform in Coruscant, but I just always thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
Actors transitioning into the era of CGI, and it was all new. Mm-hmm. But rest in peace, Terence Stamp. Legendary film career, legendary stage career. You can look all that stuff up. Also, famously, was the roommate of Michael Caine for a very long time.
Oh.
When they were kind of coming up, before they were really anything, they were buds when they were younger. You hesitate to say struggling actors when they were young, up-and-coming actors that hadn't been discovered yet.
Yeah.
But, yeah, rest in peace, Terence Stamp, and we'll remember you here. We have votes of confidence in you here on The Force of Others. But moving into our more typical show, we're going to dive into the mailbag first before we go into everything else. And we got a question from friend of the podcast, Brian Lawson, an easy question. Well, I guess a simple question. He says, if you guys lived in the Star Wars universe, what would be your home planet?
So are you a beach person or a forest person is what we're really asking. So for me, I think it would be Endor. Like, I love a good forest, the forest moon of Endor. It seems like a good place. The Ewok movies that we've seen make it seem like it's a pretty peaceful, besides like a Gorbaks running around.
And a spider.
And the giant spider and the giant dog. Maybe not. Then maybe you know what? I'm gonna actually put a pin in that and say Kashyyyk. I would love to be in the 1970s fur grass rug house that we saw in the holiday special.
just don't go lower levels of Kashyyyk because there are spiders there too.
Yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
what about you?
So the worst thing about this planet is, depending on where you are in the Star Wars timeline, it doesn't exist anymore. But for me, I'm an Alderaan man.
Oh, yeah.
You always, like, if you want to live in the city, you can get a little city action. There's always these beautiful mountains in the distance, and I love me some mountains. And there's also some forests, and I'd be better at running through the forests than Leia and the bounty hunters on Obi-Wan. And so, yeah, you get a little bit of everything on Alderaan.
You could do Chandrila, which seems to be very similar as well. So, and which I would also just thought that would also probably be a great planet to live on.
That's right. I forgot. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So official in universe.
I want to dance rave with Mon Mothma.
Meow, 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 meow. Okay, that was my terrible Niamos cover. But so there we go. It's Force of Others canon. We live on Chandrila, but we're not corrupted, evil, rich people. Which I guess flies in the face of... It doesn't matter. Point is, we live on Chandrila. But, all right, if you have a question that you'd like us to yap about and sing terrible versions of Star Wars songs, email it to forceofothersradio@gmail.com or put it in the comments below or on the comments on our Instagram or just put it somewhere, and we'll probably answer it on the show. But in the meantime, Zach, how was... After having seen you for Rebel ScumCon last week, how has your Rebel ScumConless week? Wow, that fell apart completely. How's your week been? How'd Star Wars find you this week? I was trying to be cute and it failed. Go for it.
Week's been great. Just kind of coming off of the Rebel ScumCon, high and getting back to normal life. And you're like, oh, I want to be at a Star Wars convention. But it's been really great. Got to see some friends and catch up with some people. Played some D&D again, which was really fun. Making a outfit for Ren Fair. Kai is sewing me this like beautiful long flowy wizard cloak, so that's coming together, so that's been really fun. But we were at a thrift store recently and I found an Emperor Palpatine for $15.
Ooh.
And he's got like weird hands, he's got a little cane in there. So yeah.
Is that it's got to be 90s.
Oh, gotta be. I mean, like,
cool.
It's got like vintage all the way around,
Cool.
They had other ones. They had the other one that they had that I almost got was Qui-Gon Jinn, but I didn't get him because it's Qui-Gon Jinn from the battle against Darth Maul on Tatooine. So it's literally Qui-Gon Jinn going. Like, that's the face that they gave him. But that one is also there, so maybe I'll make a trip back. We'll see. But as far as other ways that Star Wars has found me, I was listening to Worlds Beyond Number, which is one of my favorite narrative D&D podcasts. And they Brennan Lee Mulligan said that there's a familiar called Task in that, and it's a little glass spider that like can project and only talks like and he said that was his homage to R2-D2, because it is him and this fox familiar as well, and the fox can talk, and it literally was like, fox no work, and it's like, yeah, Task is like your like good loyal dog that's like, yeah, I'm gonna do all the good stuff and save the day, and he's like, that's my nod to R2-D2.
Cool.
Also, in that talk back, they were talking about an episode. Erika Ishii talked about how R2 and 3PO are an homage to Hidden Fortress by Kurosawa, which means that is going onto my watch list because I've never actually seen that one.
Ooh, it's a good movie. We should actually. So we're generating episode ideas now, but we should watch that and talk about it. It's very old, but it is transparent how Star Wars that movie is. But I'll shut up.
Yeah, well, we need to do a whole segment about like the influences of Star Wars.
Awesome.
So look out for that, dear listener and watcher. And then just on the way to Rebel ScumCon, I met two people in the. I met a mom who said that she was going to give our show to her son. So if you're listening, Jake, shout out, welcome. And we also met a guy named Theo in the baggage claim. So Star Wars is everywhere. I was wearing my big old Star Wars shirt and all that, and they were like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "Oh, there's a Star Wars convention." So Star Wars brings people together. And that's how Star Wars found me, besides all of the wonderful things at Rebel ScumCon that we talked about last week, and just everything that's come from that. Many different people. I'm drinking out of my blank slate Darth Maul mug this morning, so yeah. What about you? How was your week? How did Star Wars find you?
Well, so my normal weeks, work is working. We had auditions for Matilda Jr., and my academy semester has started in the last couple days, so I'm a busy little man running around everywhere. Also, my wife went to Canada to go see her family, and so I was alone with the dog for the last, 5 days. So I went from Comic-Con, I went from ScumCon last weekend to AloneCon this weekend. It was me and the dog. But she was back. I picked Jenny up last night, but... real quick about Rebel ScumCon, I just want to let everybody know, or if they're listening, Tom Hodges and Kevin Lyle, we did interview you, and Tom Hodges, the audio does not exist. It is gone. I'm going to reach out to you on Instagram. It just, we got the recording, we were like, oh, this is unusable. But it sounds like a good excuse to have you on the show, and I'll be reaching out just if there's fans of Tom Hodges or Tom himself listening, that's why. And Kevin Lyle, the audio exists, and it is terrible. And we are actively trying to fix it. That interview will come out. Almost everything else that we recorded has come out. But as for how Star Wars found me, the first thing I want to talk about is I was just scrolling YouTube, and I discovered that some guy named Hayden Christensen through the opening pitch and sang the 7th inning stretch at the Cubs game this last week. Because there was a Fan Expo Chicago this weekend, right after ScumCon. And so I guess he was in town as they made that happen. And I did pull a video of Hayden and his daughter singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game with the 7th inning stretch, and it gets interrupted by a flyover by a fighter jet, which I thought was hilarious. And so I'm going to play this for you real quick.
All right, Cubs fans, let me hear ya. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Take me to the ball game.
It is immediate that the fighter jet flies over. So I posted the whole clip on our YouTube and Instagram, and somebody commented that I guess lives in Chicago. They were like, yeah, it's a stupid air and space show. It messes everything up in this city every year that they do it. And I thought that was very, very funny. But yeah, good for Hayden Christensen getting to go out and live the dream, getting to sing Take Me Out of the Ball Game at a Cubs game. Yeah. But swing batter. We also got a comment on, and I learned something on our video of shout out friend of the podcast Elliot Hayes when she binged Andor in 30 hours. Somebody commented that, one of the weird cool things about Andor is the Time Grappler is also the head of the Sardaukar troop in Dune. Sardaukar is the warriors. I was like, what? No way. And I looked it up. I was like, holy crap.
The
so
head
shout
of the
out.
What is?
So the Time Grappler on Andor, the guy that's banging on the bells and stuff.
Yeah.
He's also the head, I can't do the Sardaukar voice because it's not real. but he's the one talking to David
It
Dismalchin.
is real. It's Tibetan throat and singing.
You're right, but I don't think he's making those noises in that moment.
True. Yeah.
But I was like,
Cool.
yeah. So actor Neil Bell, I had no idea that was the same guy. I never would have noticed that. So shout out Imperial Advisor 4880 on YouTube, and 2 other things, and then we'll get into the actual show.
Yeah.
So this last weekend, I did get to do something nerdy because my dad was like, hey, let's go to this theater called Cosm Dallas and go watch The Matrix. And I was like, what are you talking about? Okay, I love The Matrix, but sure. And so what it is, there's one in Dallas and there's one in LA. And I think the Dallas one is new. It's kind of an IMAX screen, but it's coupled with like a dining experience. The movie is set to just like kind of a normal rectangle, but then everything around it is like this immersive sound and like lightscape. So for a movie like The Matrix, it's awesome. Like when Trinity's running over the rooftops at the beginning of that movie and they're shooting at her, you're seeing light flashes or muzzle flashes around you. When they go into the construct program and it's all white, the whole screen becomes white, and it felt like we were outside. I could see everybody else. And they did cool stuff, like there was a 3-course meal coupled with it that was food from the movie, right? Yeah. Where so like when Neo's talking about like I used to eat there, really good noodles. They bring out this little Chinese takeout box that says really good noodles.
Cool.
And the noodles are really good. When Cypher is eating steak and talk about our ignorance is bliss, they bring out steak. When the Oracle gives out cookies, they bring out chocolate chip cookies. But the funnest thing about it, I forgot, I haven't seen The Matrix in probably like 7 years. That movie rocks. If you haven't seen The Matrix, go watch The Matrix. I forgot that like every 4th line is so awesome, is just like a banger. Now I have to hold on, Zach.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Matrix?
Of course.
Okay.
All 4 of them, even the 4th one that we shouldn't exist.
Fun fact, have not seen that film. I started and did not finish, so my Matrix, I am a poser in my Matrix fandom.
If you're a fan of Star Wars, the 4th one, all he does is force push everyone. So
see, yeah, that's what, and I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, The Matrix is an incredible
3,
movie, and I got to rediscover it. But if you are in Dallas or Los Angeles and you're listening to this, go to the Cosm. It is so cool. It's a little expensive, but it was really, really cool. That was my first like any type of 4D experience theater movie going thing in my life. And then one other thing that's going to happen this next weekend, I had a buddy that used to work at the Opera House with me, Jarrett Self. He is now one of the people, he works for ticketing for the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra.
Cool.
And he reached out to me and he was like, hey, so this next weekend we're doing The Force Awakens live in concert.
Cool.
Do you want to go? I can get you 2 tickets. And I was like, yes, thank you. So Lance Candler and I are going to go see The Force Awakens live in concert. If I understand correctly, they have pulled the soundtrack out of the mix of the film, as they're going to play the movie, but the orchestra is going to play all the music live. I am so excited. And before that, we're heading out to Martin House Brewing, where they're having like a Star Wars party with Star Wars beer and stuff. So if you're in the Fort Worth area, head out to Martin House Brewing Company. Lance and I will be there at some point. Lance Candler is a beer man, not to shame him, but he is. He loves him some beer. Mm-hmm. And so we'll be there brewing it up before we go to the symphony. Yeah. Which is funny, but it's going to be awesome.
You're going to love it. I did that experience with the first 2 Lord of the Rings films at Radio City, and it was so awesome. So
awesome. That's cool. Yes.
Yeah.
I think
it's going to be a great time.
Yeah. What I'm most excited for, I think, is just the cue at the end of the movie when Luke Skywalker returns to Star Wars, just as Rey's walking up the steps. That's that whole scene is the meme. This is cinema. Yeah. You know what I mean? To me, that is cinema.
Well, and you have such great people poo-poo on that movie, but it has some great songs too. The Flight of the I think it's X-Wing Concerto. It's fantastic. Yeah. Rey's theme's great. Kylo's theme's great.
Yeah. The March of the Resistance. Yeah. John Williams crushed with that movie, and in my opinion, still should have won the Oscar for Best Original Score. But anyway, moving on into our actual news. Zach, we got a Star Wars movie coming out on September 19th on Disney+.
What? They didn't announce this?
Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Echoes of the Past. Always excited for more Lego Star Wars because it is silly and fun and you can turn your brain off, and it is a celebration of Star Wars as much as it is a parody of it. I saw people online saying, I got to rewatch the first one so that I'm up to date on this altered timeline, and I'm like, nah, dog. Like, just watch. Like, who cares, you know?
Well, you gotta know about Jedi Bob. I think watching the first one wouldn't be bad.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I don't think it's. I'm not gonna prioritize a rewatch to get my lore right on this altered timeline, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of the cast is returning: Gaten Matarazzo, Tony Revolori, Bobby Moynihan, Ahmed Best as Darth Jar Jar, Anthony Daniels, Sam Witwer, Matt Wood, D. Bradley Baker. Was Kevin Michael Richardson in the first one?
I think so. I think he was the
Jedi Jabba.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember Kelly Marie Tran being Darth Rose Tico, so I'm excited about that. If she was in there, I forgot.
Yeah.
But always excited to see her come back. Mark Hamill's coming back, and then new cast members. Ashley X9 is returning to the role of Ahsoka Tano.
Woo!
Always. She is always peak. She's a wonderful person. She's a great actor, and yes.
Yeah.
Even in a silly Lego Star Wars special, we'll take it. Kat Tabor is returning to Star Wars after voicing Padme through all the Clone Wars and stuff as Pirate Queen Amidala. And then the big one for the new generation, Cameron Moynihan is coming back as Cal Kestis.
Yeah, if you saw any clickbait article recently about Cal Kestis being in a Star Wars film, it was this one.
It was this one. Yeah. But they got the clicks. Yeah. But Zach, what's your are you hyped?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun show. Like I love that we're doing an alternate timeline in Star Wars because that opens the door for others. I mean, Lego Star Wars has always been kind of its own little funny timeline, but I love that we have like good Palpatine and good Vader and all that, and so it's fun. It's silly. It's gonna be a good time. The cast is great. You'll get probably a great Maul line from Witwer at one point. And if Maul and Ahsoka aren't in the same scene, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So,
I just go ahead.
No, I'm excited about it. So
yeah, I just still love from the first one. It's like Paul, but Maul, as he's nice Maul, which I still think is so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, airs September 19th. Check it out, and we'll talk about it the following week on the show. I'm looking forward to having a good time.
Yeah.
But as to news about casting in another,
I
hate to say, bigger Star Wars movie.
I'm sorry, do you hear a boy crying wolf again? Is he cast? I don't know. Well, Matt Smith has been cast again in Star Wars in a live action as a villain again. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Matt Smith at one point was said to be young Palpatine in I believe it was Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure he also was on set and filmed. Well, at least that's
the one thing that we don't know. On the Happy Sad Confused podcast, the guy asked him, he said, yeah, it was an amazing time, I was cast, blah blah blah, obviously didn't end up in the movie, and he said, did you film anything? And he went, we don't have to get into all that. And that's all that he said.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so he has been a Palpatine before. He might be a Palpatine again, as he's been cast in the villain in Starfighter.
I didn't even think about that.
Did I just blow your mind?
Well, surely he's not playing. I guess he could. I'm going to think about that. Keep going.
If you have not been paying attention to Star Wars lately, Starfighter is the Ryan Gosling movie. I thought we also had a casting for a lead villain. That's
Mia Goth.
As well. So let's see where this goes. Matt Smith's fantastic. He plays a great villain. I don't care what you think about Morbius. But in Game of Thrones, he's quite wonderful. In the House of the Dragon? Yes, House of the Dragon. And he's a great actor, so I'm super hyped for this. I think it is cool. If he is playing a young Palpatine, then that is setting up a different type of movie than we might. But he could just be, a First Order remnant or a Yuuzhan Vong Grisk. Put him in some makeup and give him some forehead wrinkles and make him a Star Trek person. We don't know what he could be. We just know that he is a villain. Again, this has not been confirmed by Lucasfilm, but it's been everywhere. And Lucasfilm doesn't really come out and confirm things anymore. They don't really have. So Deadline is a pretty reliable source for casting. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything offhand that Deadline has broken casting-wise that has then come out to not be the case, with the exception of Ahsoka Season 2, or I'm sorry, Mando Season 2. I think there was a rumor that Tim Morrison was coming back as Rex, but obviously it was just that they were wrong. He was coming back as Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Right? But they broke like everything else. We found out about Cobb Vanth. We found out about Bo-Katan. We just what's her name?
Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff, thank you. They dropped all that stuff. They didn't drop Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, thank God. But yeah, when they post something, usually it ends up right. So yeah, I'm excited. It does seem like this is a movie that the studio might be pushing. Put stars in it. Put as many stars in it as you can, right? Yeah. I love that we know nothing about it. I mean, I'll say right now, it's fun speculation. I don't think he's playing young Palpatine.
No.
I don't think it's going to happen.
He could be a Palpatine clone, but I don't.
I think the internet would light itself on fire.
Somehow Palpatine returned again.
Oh my, can you imagine? I mean, and the Rise of Skywalker at all, if you don't know, Rise of Skywalker is very transparently a Dark Empire cover, right? And at the climax of the Dark Empire comic, Palpatine clones himself and comes back as like young, sexy, muscular Palpatine, and has a lightsaber duel with Luke Skywalker. So my guess was always that in Rise of Skywalker, when Palpatine restored himself, kind of like sucking the life force out of Kylo and Rey, that at some version of the story, they toyed around with the idea of him restoring himself into a younger him. And then they had a lightsaber duel. Which, whatever. I don't want to say that's better than what we would have got, because I like Ian McDiarmid, the only guy we've ever seen be the role, get to be the role. Continuing
We've also
to be, you know what I'm saying?
seen younger Ian McDiarmid, and Matt Smith is taller than Ian McDiarmid, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, but I think facially he's a pretty good match, I mean, Harrison Ford's way taller than Alden Ehrenreich.
That's true.
So, at least he looks like he is. I don't know if he is. We'll see. But either way, neither here nor there. All but 100% confirmed that Matt Smith is the villain in Starfighter, and I'm excited. Just, we haven't heard much. The only rumor that has permeated about that movie is that it's going to be Ryan Gosling looking after a young Force sensitive. And that, like, trying to get them away from evil people. The biggest thing that I want out of Starfighter, do new things.
Yeah.
If it's the First Order again, it's gonna be like, I will be upset for a day, and then I'll be fine, and I'll get over it. But do something new.
Yeah.
I don't even necessarily want the Grisk or the Yuuzhan Vong. Do something new. There was a rumor that came out earlier this week that Star Wars is trying to set up an Avengers Endgame style thing, where if a movie hits, then they're going to build off of that with other things and then bring them together.
Cool.
But at the same time, I was like, yeah, that's what every movie studio has been trying to do since Avengers 13 years ago.
Including Marvel.
Yes, true. Which they did with success up until Endgame, in my opinion. No shade on the people that have made the movies since, but,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. But you got anything else to say about Matt Smith? Pretty much 100% confirmed as the villain in Starfighter.
No, I'm excited. I hope it's not a complete... I hope it's different than his Daemon Targaryen, because he's fantastic in Game of Thrones, but I want I want to see a different color. I don't want Morbius. I don't want, House of the Dragon. I want something new and fun. Also, the second most thing I want to see out of out of Starfighter is David Cornsweet as one of the pilots. So
it's possible, but I mean, I don't know. Gunn just said that he has finished writing the treatment for whatever the next Superman movie is, or next movie featuring Superman, and that they're going to go into production very, very soon.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Cornsweet might be tied up.
Just give him a cameo,
Yeah, I'm saying. And everybody will freak out.
Yeah.
But all right. But speaking on to a different Endgame style event franchise thing that Star Wars tried to do, Ron Howard has some new quotes on the making of Solo. Mm-hmm. We knew most of what he talked about to Variety earlier last week, but I don't remember a time that he has ever been directly quoted as saying these things. Howard remembered when he got brought on to... so if you don't remember, Phil Lord and Chris Miller had shot, if we understand correctly, about 60% of the Solo movie.
Yeah.
And at that point, Lucasfilm was like, they're not doing what we hired them to do. We got to bring on somebody else. So Howard says there was a studio that liked the script the way it was and wanted a Star Wars movie. But there was a disconnect early on tonally, and they weren't convinced that what Phil and Chris were doing was working effectively. He goes on to say, I couldn't judge that because I didn't see enough of it to know, but they were sure. Once I said, okay, I think I can do this script, and I think I understand what you want of this script, they said we'd want to reshoot a lot. I looked at the movie and then pointed out some things that I thought were great, and Phil and Chris were incredibly gracious throughout that process. They were just seeing two different movies. So I came in, I had a blast, but there's nothing personal about that film whatsoever. It's still just a shame. And he goes on to say how they were planning sequels and offshoots, and it was going to be a whole scum and villainy story that they were going to tell that went away when the movie did essentially bomb because they made it twice.
Yeah.
And released it at the same time as Infinity War and Deadpool 2 and a bunch of other genre movies.
Yeah.
And everybody chose to go see Infinity War instead of the Star Wars, the Solo movie that didn't have Harrison Ford.
And shortly after one of the Star Wars movies, too, if I remember correctly.
And for the first time, it came out within 6 months of another Star Wars movie, and that Star Wars movie was The Last Jedi, which, love it or hate it, is probably the most contentious Star Wars movie ever made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Zach, what's your response to all that stuff?
I love hearing that Phil and Chris Lord and Miller were gracious throughout the process, because I really like their movies. Like Into the Spider-Verse, both of them are
phenomenal.
Some of the most mind-blowing animation things to come out in the past 20 years. So just hearing that they were like, yeah, cool, like we're just not doing what you guys want, but it's our vision, and if you want to bring somebody else in, that's cool. We'll help them out. Ron Howard is a great filmmaker. I would love to see a Solo too. I want to know what's going on with Darth Maul there and Kira, and I know we've gotten a little bit in comics, but we really haven't. We haven't really gotten right after Solo. So is that going to appear in Maul Shadow Lord? Probably not. Maybe season 5 of Maul Shadow Lord, but I doubt it. But yeah, I think it's such a fun movie. It is a movie that I probably rewatch more than most Star Wars movies, because it is just a fun, good time. You don't have to be like, oh, I gotta watch the next one, or oh, I gotta watch the previous one. It's a great one to just throw on, and you're like, cool, I'm gonna watch some people play Sabacc and go through a maelstrom, and it's great. The cast is great. It's a good movie. So
yeah.
I think it's the biggest travesty of Star Wars to happen within the past, with not biggest travesty, but one of the biggest, to be like that movie not seeing the potential that it could have.
I think it's telling that he said that there's nothing personal about that film, right? Like, more often than not, the best art is made when the artist has something to say, right?
Yeah.
And that is my one criticism. You can tell there's nothing really that they're trying to say with Solo. That might not be true because it is pretty emotional what happens with Han and Kira, but it was such a setup for more story, right? Because at the start of that movie and for most of the movie, Han is so optimistic and so like plucky and just like eager. And obviously, then by the time you get to him, and even episode 4, he's like, I got a bad feeling about this. And that's not that character in Solo at all. He can't be touched. Nothing affects him. He's so happy. He's like, I got a really good feeling about this. It's very on the nose, right? But I don't know. I love that movie. I think it's so fun. But as soon as they came out with a Han and Chewie comic called Han Solo and Chewbacca, and it was in that same era, kind of after Solo 2, and then Kira started showing up heavily featured in the comics written by Charles Soule between Empire and Return of the Jedi, I was like, yeah, they have zero plans to follow up with this in any way. You hear a rumor every 6 months about the Lando movie with Donald Glover, but that dude is so busy.
Yeah.
And he has said, if the story was right, I would go. Which means if the story was emotional and I related to it and I was interested, then I would do it.
Yeah.
But if it's not, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it just 'cause. So, I don't know. I hope Starfighter takes off because I think there is a room there is a space for Star Wars scum and villainy storytelling.
Yeah.
And I would love for that space to be lived in and used. So,
yeah,
there
give
we
me
go.
more Outlaws. Give me more, I know we're not going to see an Outlaws sequel, but give me more of that vibe.
I think that comics will be the home for Outlaws in the future, and it'll probably just be cameos. Well, when we're going to get a novel.
Yeah,
That's what we're going to get a prequel novel. I would like to see what Kay Vess and Nix and ND5 are up to, towards the end of the Galactic Civil War and beyond. But you brought up Shadow Lord. I really think they're carving out a very specific story. I think it's going to be how Maul takes over the syndicates, and as confirmed without confirming by Sam Witwer at Rebel ScumCon, he's going to be training an apprentice.
What if Mia Goth is that apprentice in Starfighter?
I don't
probably
think...
too Jedi-y for that movie, but...
Well, I also don't think they would do that only because then that boxes in what Shadow Lord can do.
True.
While we know that they write the scripts probably 2 years ahead of time because it takes so long to animate these things.
Yeah.
There was talk early in Force Awakens of trying to have connections to Rebels. And early on, Rey's home planet was going to be Lothal.
Oh, cool.
It was going to be the same, or they were going to name it Jakku. It was going to be the same place, but very early on, they were like, let's not do that because then that boxes both stories in to what the other one is doing, and we don't want to hamstring ourselves. It's the problem with shared continuity, right? We don't know how these stories are going to develop. We don't want to have a brilliant idea that makes our story better that we can't do because we're already tied into something Force Awakens is doing.
Yeah.
Right? So it's possible, but I don't know. And we don't know who Maul's apprentice is. Outside of that, the people that have seen the trailer have talked about that there was a red-skinned Twi'lek.
Pretty
So
apparent.
it sounds a lot like Darth Talon.
Yeah.
But anywho, so
You
got
be my Talon.
Oh, that's got to be the line.
Yeah.
Man, can't wait for Shadow Lord. Absolutely can't wait, dude. Every now and then I remember we're gonna be full.
Yeah.
Next year because Shadow Lord at some point, Mando and Grogu in May, and Ahsoka at some point.
Yeah.
What I'm excited about and afraid of equally is that Shadow Lord and Ahsoka Season 2 are going to be coming out at the same time. Because then it's like, okay.
They did it with Mando and Bad Batch, though.
I know they did, and I'm afraid that that's going to be the template going forward. Because it's like, bro, I really want to cover both of these shows in the way that they deserve to be covered. But that's a lot of Star Wars to watch every week. To quote Tony Gilroy, when Andor was going to be 3 episodes a week, he's like, I don't know what podcasters are going to do. But speaking of shared universes and launching shared universe... Oh, you got something else?
And speaking of things that have no shackles or any hamstringing...
The novel that launched the expanded universe.
Yeah.
I'm handing it over to Oh, and because it's a Legends story, I have a thing to play every time we're going to talk about a Legend story. In the words of Ahsoka Tano herself.
There's always a bit of truth in Legends.
Zach, what are we talking about?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Heir to the Empire, which I read for the first time, filling out more of my nerd card, not having it revoked. But also, this is also on our journey to Ahsoka, Season 2, because Heir to the Empire is the introduction of Thrawn. I don't know if it fully launch Legends. Was it the first thing to come out? Because
no,
was there already, I'm pretty sure.
This is his first appearance.
Cool.
Basically every major character in this story, with the exception of, Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, R2, 3PO, Admiral Akbar. This was their first thing. And the Marvel Comics existed before this. If I remember correctly, the Han Solo trilogy, the Lando Calrissian trilogy, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, those were out there. But this was the launch of a shared, expanded universe for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Back to you.
It's a fantastic book. It's a book one, though. Just my opening thoughts. This is a fantastic setup to a trilogy of books. If you are like, man, I just want some Han, Luke, and Leia that feels like the original movies, listen or read this. The audiobook is, shout out to Mark Thompson, one of my favorite audiobook readers, especially for Star Wars. Kevin Lyle in his booth at Rebel ScumCon had a patch that said Thrawn read to you by Mark Thompson, and I might be buying that patch. We'll link it down in the doobly-doo below. But it's so great. This book is really great, and you're like, oh, I get why this captured the imagination of every Star Wars fan. Was it one of the only things that were out? Yes, but it's thrilling. It's a great book, and it keeps it moving. It has some things that I'm like, but overall, I really, really liked this book. And as someone who is first reading it with Thrawn already have coming out, I read the canon Thrawn novels, so I knew a lot of that. But this is completely different. I mean, the canon novels are great. I really love them. But this is almost even a different kind of Thrawn as well. And a little bit more powerful and smart. And in a way that I think the canon Thrawn could use some more of. But yeah, I really liked it. That's my opening thoughts. What are your opening thoughts with a reread of the 20th time that you've read this book? Or?
Oh, I mean, it's probably the 5th time.
Yeah.
Altogether. But just opening thoughts. We need to remember this book came out on May 1st, 1991. And from this 34-year-old novel that really, like I said before, kickstarted the Star Wars Expanded Universe, it gave us Star Wars concepts that permeated Legends. Mara Jade, Talon Karrde, Jason and Jaina Solo, who aren't named in this novel, but that's the twin children of Han and Leia, and Ysalamiri, the Force-blocking lizards. It also gave us ideas that are still heard in canon today. Coruscant. The name for that planet comes from this novel.
Oh, really?
George is like, that's a good idea. I'm going to take it. Thrawn came from here. The Interdictor Star Destroyer that blocks hyperspace came from here. And hot chocolate entered Star Wars canon in this novel.
Is it canon in modern? Because it is all over this book.
I looked over on a Wikipedia, and sure enough, hot chocolate is canon. Because of, like, some, it's offhand references and some things, but yeah.
Man, that did fully take me out when I was listening to this book. Luke's like, if you haven't read this book, Luke is like, yeah, I made this thing that Lando taught me about. Hot chocolate. And I was like, what?
So there's liner notes and commentary on the 20th anniversary, like, collector's edition of this book from the author, Timothy Zahn. Shout out Timothy Zahn, who we hadn't mentioned yet. Just like, salute to you, sir. But he was like, yeah, I was very, very surprised that everybody reacted negatively to name-dropping hot chocolate. He's like, all I could think about was who would want to live in a Star Wars universe that who would want to live anywhere that didn't have hot chocolate. So,
yeah.
But yeah, to me, I was always like, that's just so earthy. It's silly.
Yeah.
And to have Lando be the one that made hot chocolate, I was like,
Let me tell you, Luke, you're gonna love this. It's hot chocolate.
it made me uncomfy. But moving into your biggest likes, and let's go back and forth and popcorn this. Zach, your first big like for Heir to the Empire.
Your first one is the core. It's Luke, Leia, Han, and Lando. They feel like the original trilogy. Every single one is the same through line, like in my imagination. It's so permeant and like so good that my brain was having a hard time because it breaks canon. Not breaks canon, but it's a different canon, right? And so my brain's like, wait, no, this isn't actually happening, but it did, but it's in my brain now, and now it exists there, and the twins. So, it's so good, and Mark Thompson does a great job at portraying each voice and have them be really, really great. So much so that it feels like you're just watching the movie. Yeah. What about you?
Well, yeah, just quick sidebar. We listened to the audiobook.
Yeah.
Both of us. If you have never listened to a Star Wars audiobook, do it. Please finish listening to us, but then go get you on Audible and get you some Star Wars novels. It sounds like you're watching a movie. They put all the cues in there. Mark Thompson is phenomenal. I've never heard a bad Star Wars audiobook. Just make sure you don't get the abridged versions that came out when we were kids.
Yeah.
Get the full unabridged audiobook version. But my biggest like, Grand Admiral Thrawn, baby.
Yeah.
Grand Admiral Thrawn. You have to remember that in 1991, he was a completely different type of Star Wars villain, right? That's the biggest thing that I think still makes him iconic to this day, is that to that point in Star Wars, you'd had your soldier villain. You'd had Darth Vader. You'd had a gangster villain. You'd had Jabba. You'd had your arch villain in Palpatine. You had never had the Lex Luthor, Riddler, Hans Gruber, Moriarty thinking villain that is a threat because he is worlds smarter than the heroes.
Yeah.
He's just a phenomenal concept for a villain and a character because he's so unlike anything that Star Wars had before. My only dislike, and it's kind of just silly, this audiobook came out in 2011, and it's that the voice that Mark Thompson uses for Talon Karrde sounds like Thrawn. What we know Thrawn to sound like now.
Yeah.
And his voice for Thrawn is, he kind of talks like this, and it's much more British and evil, and not the Thrawn from canon, who's just kind of dripping with intelligence. Talon Karrde talks like that. And I was just like, you got it wrong. Go back in time. But Rebels hadn't even come out. I think it came out in 2014.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
15?
Either way,
No,
either 14
college,
or 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, but either way, the silly dislike accompanied with my huge like of Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
Zach, next big like.
Yeah. My next big like is Talon Karrde.
Nice.
You talk about a different kind of major villain. You also have a different kind of smuggler. You know, he is also the intelligence forward, smuggling underworld villain. Villain light, you know? Or neutral, I guess you could say, party. He's a very smart guy who's like, no, we're not going to do this because Thrawn's going to do this. And if we do this, Thrawn's going to do that. And Thrawn at the same time is being like, oh, I bet he's doing this. So it was cool. It's cool to have not just like, I don't know, if you're going to have a Han Solo be such a big part of this movie, to have another smuggler that is not Lando and not Han, but is still smart and dangerous, is really cool. So,
Well, I just realized we forgot to say, if you've never heard of this book, it's set 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and which is the same era that the Mandalorian and the Ahsoka stuff is in, right? And it's about them setting up the New Republic while Grand Admiral Thrawn, the last of the Empire's Grand Admirals, kind of has resurfaced and is leading this military campaign against the New Republic. There you go.
yeah.
But one of my favorite things about Talon Karrde is that Han is meeting with prospective allies, trying to recruit more smugglers into the New Republic, and he's like, hey, who's the big guy in charge now that Jabba's gone? And the guy's like, well, I heard of just Talon Karrde, which is such a cool way to introduce a character, is like the new Jabba.
Yeah.
And so immediately you think he's a baddie, and he's kind of in between.
Mm-hmm.
But my next big like is one that I know you're also going to want to talk about. Mara Jade, dog. There you go. There's the action figure. Such a cool idea for a character. The Emperor's Hand. You don't find out everything about her in this novel.
You also
just
don't find out she's
about
the Emperor's Hand until,
till almost the end.
It's very end, yeah.
You know that she hates Luke Skywalker, and they hold off on that reveal for so long until Luke's finally like, what did I do to you? And he's not crappy about it. He's like, what did I do? What happened? What did I do to you? But just the way that she's revealed, we've talked about it on the show before, is that Luke is feeling very, very uneasy, and he travels back to the Dagobah cave, and he sees a vision of this red-haired woman pulling his lightsaber away from him on Jabba's sail barge.
Yeah.
And that he just gets gunned down as she laughs. And then when he finds out that Mara was there at Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi, undercover as a dancer, right?
And wasn't allowed on the sail barge.
Wasn't allowed on the sail barge. That had she been there, that's what would have happened.
Yeah.
That's how, very thankful that didn't happen, because I love the sail barge fight. But Mara Jade, just a fantastic character. And what happens to a high-ranking Imperial officer after Palpatine's dead? You become a smuggler.
Yeah.
I just think she's a cool character.
But not only that, she was a secret. She was not not somebody that a lot of people knew about. I don't even know if Thrawn knows about her at this point. I feel like he does, but they haven't yet met in the book, so
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I've read, like always happens with book series, is when you go to reread the series, you read the first novel, and sometimes you don't read the rest. I've read Heir to the Empire, this was either my 5th or 6th time.
Yeah.
I think I've read Dark Force Rising and The Last Command maybe 2 times apiece. So, and it's been a bit. So as we move on in our reread, that'll be news for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I love the slow burn of Mara Jade. You're like, cool, this is a, very talented person. She probably has some Force abilities, but not really, because she's always surrounded by Ysalamiri, so it's not really known, The Ysalamiri are also on my like list. I love that there's a lizard that just creates a bubble of no force, and basically that means this whole planet is no force, because they're all in the jungle. And then Thrawn literally makes a jungle on his Star Destroyer, so there's no force. It's a cool way to counteract a Jedi without having there be too high of a stake. It's just that thing that you use all the time. Cool, don't do it. And it's also great for Mara Jade, but I think that's getting into spoilers for the next book. So I will leave that as a thing. Your next like.
I'm gonna stick with the Ysalamiri. I know that it did not, and it doesn't fit into how George Lucas says the Force works.
Yeah.
To have a animal that just blocks the Force, when what the Force is generated by all life and surrounds all life and binds the galaxy together, to just have something that's like, nope, I stopped that from happening. It's like, dog, why don't you die? I have a way that I've said on the show before that I'll say later on in what they might use for the future. I have a way that Ysalamiri could make sense in canon. It's that they can't be in my opinion, they shouldn't just be a complete Force doesn't happen, doesn't work no matter what.
Yeah.
There should be a way through that. But, and I've used it in my RPG games, but that's a trailer for later in the show.
Ooh.
But I do like the concept of because the first time you meet them, a Force-sensitive Dark Jedi, Jorus Sabaeot, tries to Force lightning Thrawn, and the lightning stops, like a foot away from him. He's like, how are you doing this? And Thrawn doesn't explain yet. That's such a cool image that I honestly hope we get to see.
Yeah.
I hope somebody tries something like that and it just doesn't work. But anyway, back to you.
It'd be cool to have them suck the Force, like they're like, not.
It was just a sound effect, and I was like, gross.
But maybe that's it. It's not that they're blocking it; it's that they're using so much of it in that area.
Well, I can get into it now if you want.
Yeah, why not?
So, to me, if you have Ezra Bridger, who is the Dr. Doolittle of Jedi, right? That we've seen him, his specialty is communicating with animals, right? So if you have an animal that defends itself from its natural predator by shutting off the Force and, like, camouflaging itself, it would make sense to me that if you had a Jedi that could reach out and make contact and tell, like, basically through the Force, calm them, let them know that he's not a threat, they're like, oh, okay. And they'll drop their bubble, and the Force works now. Yeah. So a Dark Jedi, a Sith, a whatever, couldn't do that. But Ezra Bridger or Ahsoka Tano or maybe Sabine absolutely could.
Cool.
Right? A Force user of... And I think that you could absolutely make them canon. And I think that you have a very easy on-ramp to do that because of the stories that they've told with Ezra Bridger.
Yeah.
That if you have a Jedi whose specialty is reaching out to Purrgil and the weird creatures in the darkness on whatever that planet was on Rebels, and the wolves, and the little turtle dudes on Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Make Ysalamiri canon by showing that a Jedi could very easily break through their Force bubble with peace and calmness and compassion and kindness and all that stuff, and that Dark Jedi can't.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly just angry. So that's my pitch. I think you could easily make them canon, and it would be really, really cool.
Yeah. I love that.
There you go.
Cool.
Thanks. Your next big one.
My next big one is Luke having to be a hero without the Force. It's really cool to see your hero who's like, yeah, no, like, I'm a Jedi and I can do all this. And then, nope, you got a lightsaber, but that's about it. Figure it out, and just see him still be a hero, still connect to people, still have, like, the, like, sageness of a Jedi, but have no Force, I think it's really, really a fun way to look at that character. So.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. My next one, the Nogri Commandos. So cool. If you haven't read this novel, Thrawn has these, like, cat-like super assassins that are his bodyguards and his assassins that he sends out to attack the heroes many, many times. There's so many times it describes his main bodyguard, Rook, and other Nogri that, like, before the enemy even knows that they'd moved, they're dead. Boom. Done. I just think it's so scary and so cool, and a dislike attached to it. In my opinion, they did not portray that on Star Wars Rebels. Rook is on Rebels, and he is not this super competent, can smell the enemy from wherever away, can smell bloodlines like they can in this novel, can see people from forever away, is undetectable through stealth. He's not. He runs on all fours and is kind of a small little, like, hairless dog creature.
Yeah.
That Zeb Aurelios defeats, which is cool. Zeb's not to be trifled with, but he's just kind of a big tank. And if I remember right, not even in this novel, Chewie, who I would take over Zeb in a fight, I would think, gets wrecked by some Nogri. So, anyway, I love Rebels. That was one thing that did always kind of bug me. Is that they did not really interpret
they kind of kill him.
Who?
Sabine kind of blows him up.
Oh, Zeb kills him.
Yeah.
Zeb ties Rook's foot on Rebels, ties him up in this cord, and he gets electrocuted. It happens off screen, but Zeb's like, he's not going to be helping you anymore, or whatever it is that he says. Like, Rook is dead in canon. He's done. He got killed in the Galactic Civil War. But, yeah, I've always thought it was so cool, this alien race, and I might very well be playing one on the podcast on an RPG.
Cool.
So there's another trailer for future things. Because I think a Nogri dark side Force sensitive would be a joy to play.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, your next one.
I think it's funny that there's a Wookiee with a speech impediment that can speak English. Although they're like, does he have a speech impediment? And it's like, no, I'm the one with the speech impediment for Wookiee, for Shriwook. I can speak Galactic Basic because of my speech impediment.
So, because I've read the novel before I listened to the audiobook, and the way it's written in the novel is really cool. if I remember right, instead of quotation marks, it's oh my gosh, what are these called? Less than, greater than signs. But there's less than, greater than signs on either end, because it's like Ralra is the character's name, is speaking basic but through a weird Wookiee thing. And it's funny. It's kind of a dislike for me. Mark Thompson is a legend, but him having to portray a Wookiee speaking basic is hilarious, and I have a clip.
Yes, once they were a prize food to the Wookiee people. Now, even the poor may eat them.
He points.
I don't know. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop. But it's a hilarious idea. It's so creative. I just thought the voice acting is very, very funny.
Yeah.
I don't know how else he would do it, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey.
Yeah. Sup. But the next big one for me, Mount Tantus, which of course became canon on a version of it on Bad Batch, but just to have the Emperor's private storehouse.
Yeah.
A place that he put all of his kind of secret tech and secret plans and all, just that leaving room open for Palpatine's warehouse of scary crap is a really, really cool idea. Something canon has run with and called them observatories from the Aftermath books, and they showed up in Battlefront 2, that he had little like places all over the galaxy where he kept scary crap. I always thought it was super, super cool. Obviously, in canon, Mount Tantus is exclusively for training. It's training Imperial clones.
Yes,
it's basically where they moved the Camino operation.
Yeah.
And then there's other mountains in the background, so that's their way of leaving open that there could still be a storehouse somewhere. But what were you gonna say?
It's also where they're trying to figure out how to make Force-sensitive clones at the very.
You're right.
You know, so.
That's Project Necromancer?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Cool. My next big one is, I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but Thrawn is legit smart. Like, he is like. And the cool, like, Rebels does it too, where he's like studying the art, but there's something about, I don't know if it's just the audio format or whatever, but it works a little bit better in this book than I think it does on Rebels. There's less, shackles of canon, I think, on Thrawn's knowledge here, and just like being like, no, this commander is from this area. He will likely do this. We're going to move this maneuver here. And even Pellion's like, yeah, but there's other people on that ship that aren't that. He goes, yeah, but you follow your commander, And yeah, I think it's really cool just like having, like you said before, there's having a smart villain. It was really fun. So, and hard to write unless you're smart. So good on you, Timothy Zahn. You're one smart cookie. So.
He really is, and we got to remember this is a 34-year-old novel.
Yeah.
But I got a similar Thrawn-like. This is a small thing, but I just think it's so cool. Thrawn does not call his enemies the New Republic, as they are at this point. He exclusively refers to them as the Rebellion.
Yeah.
I just always thought that was very, very evil and kind of diminishing of the enemy, and very cool. That is, I love that.
Yeah. That kind of ends the likes that I have written down. I mean, I like a lot of the things in the book, but like those were like my big ones. Do you have any other big likes before we move on to dislikes?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll shotgun them. There's a fun little dialogue moment calling back to Empire Strikes Back where Han's like, we didn't have time to discuss it as a committee, and Leia says, I am not a committee. Which is, of course, their line from when they're about to fly out of the worm in Empire Strikes Back. But I remember reading this novel for the first time when I was a kid when they said that, and Luke has this in this novel, and Luke has this moment of, one day I'll ask them what they're talking about every time they say those words to each other. I was like, what are they talking about? What is that? Because before, everybody always watched movies with subtitles. I never knew what Han and Leia were yelling to each other there.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought he was naming like an alien or something. we didn't have time to discuss it as a Kamiki. I am not a Kamiki. And I was like, what? What is a Kamiki? What is that? But I was like 10, so I just moved on and didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that makes more sense.
Politics.
Yeah, and he's making fun of Leia. That's funny. There's lots of callbacks to the original trilogy in this novel, but I love that as Luke is preparing to begin Leia's training, he kind of reminds himself of what Ben said about Anakin. I thought that I could train him just as well as Yoda. I was wrong. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's very straightforward, but it's cool to think about all of the connections that were being made to the movies for the first time 8 years after Return of the Jedi came out. I love the sequence where there's lots of times in this novel that Thrawn is trying to capture Leia because he's trying to capture the Jedi twins that she is carrying.
Yes.
Right? I love the sequence where the Falcon lands and they're trying to get there and Han's like, wait a minute, and looks at it and kind of laughs and goes, that ain't the Falcon.
Yep.
That's such a cool bit. But they put it together in such a fun way where they're like, wait, why isn't Chewie using the little anti-personnel blaster? And then Han's like, because that ain't Chewie and that's not the Falcon. I love that. That from like a football field away, he's like, that's not my ship. Where'd they find another YT-1300? Crazy. They want us bad. So fun.
Yeah. That whole
Nomads...
sequence is really fun with the like they capture Luke kind of for a good bit with the spiderweb like guns.
Oh yeah. The Nogri,
yeah.
the Nogri for like a second, and then he gets out with his lightsaber. That's fun. They land on that planet on a diplomatic mission, and they make Han and Chewie leave their guns on the ship, and they all kind of look at each other when they don't mention the lightsaber. And Luke's like, "Don't make a thing out of it. They probably just don't know what it is."
Yeah.
But I love.
You would take a walking stick from an old man. It's a nice Lord of the Rings reference.
I was gonna say what?
They in Lord of the Rings when they're going to meet King Theoden in the second movie, Gandalf still has his staff, and the guy's like, "You got to give us all your weapons." He's like, "I'm an old man. You're gonna take my walking stick?" He's like, oh, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "Ha! I'm a wizard."
So other likes. I love Nomad City and the planet of Niklon. Timothy Zahn just gets to be so unabashedly creative.
Yeah.
No chains, no strings on him. He can do whatever. To have a planet where the sun is so close and so hot that they have to function with these giant shield ships getting in, like you can't hyperspeed in because your ship will burn up. I just thought it was so cool. And just the idea of a city that's Lando's next mining operation. I don't know if they say it in the book, but it's been said lots of other places that it's a mobile city that is on the backs of repurposed Imperial AT-ATs.
Oh, cool.
Walking or lumbering around on the surface of the planet Niklon, and it's this giant city held up by the... So cool.
Cool.
Such a cool idea. I love Luke debating if Jedi mind tricks are a dark side power. Zach, is the Jedi mind trick a dark side power?
It's definitely not a full light side power. You know, it's kind of just a power. Because you are basically changing the will of another creature, you know?
Yeah. Full on manipulating. Two last big likes, which we're into small stuff, but there's moments that I think are so cool. Luke, at one point when he's trapped in a cell, essentially, and he figures out that because Mara Jade did a Star Wars thing and shot the door lock and left, he's like, well, it's exposed now. If I can just use a power cell from somewhere... Oh, right, my artificial hand. And he basically takes the battery out of his hand and puts it in the door. I just thought that's so fun and cool.
Yeah.
Last one, Vornskers, the wolf, tail whip having creatures that, I don't know if they say it in this book, but they are the natural hunters of the Ysalamiri. They're why the Ysalamiri lizards developed the ability to block and push back the Force, because the Vornskers hunt, like they kind of use the Force to hunt, and they are attracted to and drawn to Force-sensitive creatures. Like, that's who they want to hunt. And so that's why the Ysalamiri evolved to block the Force in general, so they can camouflage from those wolves.
I don't know if I missed that, but that makes so much sense
of
why
they say
they're
that
like
in this book.
So like they're like looking at Mara and looking at
Luke,
yeah. all the time.
They might
And
say that
even
at some point in the next two.
In the end of the book, or it might be in book 2. I apologize if I'm if my memory's overlapping. Where Talon Karrde and Mara, I think it's in book 2. Little preview. Are like on the ship, and one of the Vornskers is like freaking out about her. Now that they're not on the planet. Because,
that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, there you go. That's probably when you find out.
Yeah.
I had forgotten. I don't remember what's in what. You already started book 2?
Oh yeah, I'm a good 4 hours
Oh.
in.
Oh, okay. I need to catch up. All right, anyway. But moving into our respectful dislikes, there is a major character that neither of us have talked about yet, which kind of confirms for me that we do feel the same.
It's my number 1, Jorah Sabayoth.
Yep.
I don't know if it's the modern knowledge of what a Jedi is or what a dark Jedi is, but he's so odd. I like his battle meditation. I think that's cool, but he's annoying. He's boring. He's not boring. It's an interesting character of cool. There was this dark Jedi who wasn't the one that Palpatine put there, but killed the one that Palpatine put there, but also worked with Palpatine during the Clone Wars. So is he the one that put him there? I just need a little bit more concrete of what this character is supposed to be. Because if you were just hey, he is the person who guards the mountain, he is there from Palpatine, cool. But they don't do that. They're he's no, I killed them. And all he wants is the Jedi, which is also cool. He wants to manipulate and train Luke and Leia and have this evil Jedi order, which is also cool. But then why have him be part of the old order but also working with Palpatine? I don't know. I don't know if it's just modern knowledge that really just makes me not like this character, but I don't like him.
I don't think it's modern knowledge, because I never liked knowledge, because I never liked this guy.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid. It's the whole thing of, so Jorus Sabayoth in this novel is the guardian of Mount Tantus, and Thrawn recruits him into the fold because Thrawn needs a force sensitive, because they established something called battle meditation that I'll get to in a minute. Spoilers. But the thing about it is, Jorus is a cloned Jedi, and because he's a cloned Jedi, he's literally insane.
Oh, literally, he is a clone Jedi?
Yes, they say that in the novel. He's a clone of a Jedi Master from the Clone Wars era.
Oh, I guess I missed.
Yeah, Thrawn just very,
because they were they were oh, he died, and I was okay, cool. Yeah. Maybe he.
And
just,
Thrawn's
got away.
Yeah, this is a clone that Palpatine must have made at some point, and that's why he's crazy, because he got clone madness.
Cool.
So it's just a personal preference, but he's so insane that half the things he says doesn't make sense. And just a personal preference, I don't like my villains incompetent. When you're to me personally, when your villains are incompetent, it's not the heroes trying to overcome a problem. It's they're having to deal with a nuisance that is in the way, that you're just waiting for them to deal with so that they'll quit being annoying, right? I love Thrawn because he is so competent and he is so dangerous and he is so... You're how are the characters going to defeat him? With Jorus, you're when are they going to defeat him? I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
He's just punch him. Just give him a math problem that he can't figure out, and then when he's trying to figure it out because he's crazy, stab him in the back. Who cares? Let's be done with this and move on to someone that's scary. And I get it, because Thrawn is so intelligent, to give him a complicated ally that's also kind of a foil, make him someone that's not mentally regular. I get that. But I much prefer the basically canon version of him, which is Baylan Skoll.
Yeah. Who is
just that he has a different goal than canon Thrawn without being literally annoying and insane.
Mm-hmm.
So, but sorry that I especially just ranted about Jorus Sabayoth. He is a cool character. They do cool things with him, but you get a lot more of him in the next two novels.
Yay.
I'm just not... it's just the insanity. It's just kind of annoying. So there you go.
Yeah.
Next dislike.
The Thrawn shtick kind of gets old a little bit at some point, where he's and the art, I studied the art and we will win. It's the problem with canon Thrawn. It's every setback is, oh, it's okay, I planned for this, we will win. And you're okay, but we know you're going to lose. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the level-headed. I think he shows more emotion in this book than Canon Thrawn, which is nice. Like you actually see him get angry at one point, and you're like, cool. And
Yeah.
I love that he doesn't do the Vader thing of, oh, I'm gonna kill someone. He's like, cool. We're gonna train you again. You need to go back. Like we're gonna retrain.
Yeah.
Why are you on the bridge? You messed up. Get off the bridge. But yeah, I love that part about Thrawn. But there is a point where like the Thrawn-ness of it kind of gets a little old for me. But I think that's just the character. So.
Well, and moving into my next kind of dislike, just Timothy Zahn is undoubtedly a brilliant author, but it is consistent in his novels. Me personally, I don't really like the way he plots things, where it is so detailed, and his novels now are way more detailed than this, where it's like at a certain point I'm like, I get it, can we move it along? But he does this thing in this novel, and I think it's the same in the next two as well, but it's very prevalent in this one, where there are pages and pages of characters showing how smart they are by putting together things with logic that we already know as the audience.
Yeah.
Thrawn does it 4 times. Talon Karrde does it several times. Luke does it. Han and Lando do it. It's like, I know that Luke used his battery to open the door. I don't need to listen to this 2-page monologue of you showing how smart you are, that you figured out that Luke did that. Zahn really, really loves really intelligent, emotionally, like, above, like, risen. They're past, they're completely at peace with their emotions, so they don't show any emotions.
Yeah.
He loves those types of characters. But when everybody's that way, it doesn't really make Thrawn special anymore. And at a certain point, it's like, I don't need you to tell me how you figured it out. I just need you to tell me that you figured it out, because we already know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it makes
He
the
could
opening
literally
sequence...
just like walked out, and they'd be like, "What?" And he'd be like, "He has a battery in his hand."
Yeah,
And just
and
like-
just exactly, and then just move on.
Yeah.
And move on to the next thing because of that. Don't spend the time to explain to me something that I, as the audience, already know took place.
And already saw. Yeah.
And I know this happened. Stop. Don't tell me again, please. I get that they're smart. And so it makes the first sequence work so much, where he traps the New Republic commander in a maneuver that his Watson, Thrawn's Watson, Captain Paleon, right, is like, well, that's not going to work. And he's like, oh, it will, and it's going to destroy him completely. And then he does, and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is brilliant.
Yeah.
And not, I am now going to, through logic and reasoning, figure out something that you already know took place. Aren't I intelligent? And when you do that 3-4 times, it's like, we
Wow,
get it.
you're smart.
So anyway, there's my but it is something that he consistently does. It's just something that he likes, and art needs to be what the artist wants it to be.
Yeah.
That's how you get honest, real art. So it's just my personal preference. I think they beat it to death in this one.
Yeah.
But next, respectful dislike or struggle.
Yeah. The politics of the New Republic are like, it's cool to see, like, they're building the stuff, you know. You get the Jedi Temple, kind of, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's slow enough that I'm like, okay, cool. Can we move it? Can we move it? Like, I like that it exists, but like, and I like that we get like a little Mon Mothma here and there. But like, can we just move it along a little bit? Like, it kind of dips the story a little bit. And when I'm listening to an audiobook and it's like, I'm like, oh, what? Ah, crap. I got to rewind like 2 minutes because I was not paying attention to any of that, you know?
Yeah.
And then you listen to it again, you're like, cool, I didn't really need to pay attention to any of that. The stuff with like, the Bothan trying to, like, overthrow
Akbar,
that's cool. But everything else, I'm like, all right, cool. Can we just, let's get it. Let's keep on moving. And I love that Han is like, yeah, whatever. We don't have... You know, like, whatever. I did what I needed to do because I had to do it.
Yeah.
I don't need approval to save someone's life. So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. So I got a couple more.
I got one more after that. So if you want to go through a couple.
Right on. But sticking with Thrawn, it's uncomfortable to me when, like, because part of how he wins is that he studies the art of a particular race, and then he says that because of that, He knows how that entire race thinks and literally what they're capable of understanding. It is uncomfy fantasy racism, straight up, that we have really only recently gotten past, even in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Or they're only now past the thing of like, well, all halflings are thieves. And stuff like that. It's like, that's kind of uncomfy, guys.
Yeah.
It sets you up for a weird precedent. I understand that you're trying to have a like archetypal characters, that you know what you get, but then to say that because he looked at a painting with great detail that he knows how all Eloman think, that is uncomfy.
Yeah.
Easy fix. Just say, well, I went to school with that commander. Or I have a painting that he made, and because of that, I know the way his brain works, and I know how to beat him in battle. That's dope. That's what he does on Rebels.
Yeah.
He gets Sabine's art and goes, oh yeah, I know how she thinks.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy.
He gets,
that makes sense to me.
Hera's literal, like, family lineage,
Yeah.
and he's like, I know all about you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, make it personal and then it works, but to say that you understand an entire race because of one painting is a road to uncomfiness.
It's a very much a 1991 book.
Yeah, you know. But Mara's admiration of Palpatine, I find uncomfy. Why she was so devoted to him makes more sense in later novels, but in this one, Luke's like, why do you hate me? And she goes on about how Palpatine gave me everything I ever could have wanted. I had status, I had position, I had purpose, I had all of these things, and you took away my life. It's like, I'm with you, but to say, hey man, you killed Hitler and that took away my status in life, if I was Luke Skywalker, I'd be like, good. Like, that's a good thing. Your argument is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel bad that I took away the genocidal maniac that was, like, overlording the galaxy. Like, shut up. I think it's weird. And and if that makes me heartless, then I disagree.
No, I agree.
So,
also,
you know,
this first book, you're like, I know that later on in this Legends canon, y'all get together and have a kid. I do not see any way that happens. You know, like, I guess Luke is kind to her, but it's like, oh, we're gonna have to do some work here.
Well, that's like 20 years from now in the timeline, if I remember right. But also, their characters do grow a lot over the next two novels. They start out polar opposites, and Zahn did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But it's just her whole monologue I don't find emotional or compelling in that she's like, you took away my entire life when you killed Emperor Palpatine. It's like, well, okay, sorry, your life was whack. I don't know.
Yeah.
But two last things that I'm whiny about. I don't really like battle meditation.
Really?
There's things about it that are cool, but so battle meditation, if you haven't read the book, and it's something that permeated the entire expanded universe, it's the idea of a Jedi basically mind controlling a group of people to make them more in sync and better at fighting. The implication is that once Palpatine was killed in Return of the Jedi, he was no longer able to battle meditate the entire Imperial fleet, and that's when they started to lose. And it's just like, when I watch that scene, I don't get a single impression that Palpatine's doing anything other than talking to Luke and Vader.
Yeah.
And I get that you could say that he's that powerful, he's that good, that he can do it, but it just, I don't know. I just always thought it was odd, because the Imperial officers are always shown to have complete, like, control of all their faculties.
Yeah.
You know? So,
True.
I don't know. I just thought it was odd. Last one. It's weird, but for Timothy Zahn to create a device called a beacon call that you can control a ship, and you just made a device by renaming, like, a saying. Well, I've got him at my beckoned call. Yeah, I've got a beacon call for my ship, and it goes wherever I want it to. I was like, that's kind of silly. To me. It was like, yeah, I've got that ship at my beckoned call.
Yeah. Well, it's
right.
used very well in the next book, so.
It is used incredibly well, but I just always thought it was like, well, what is this? Name it something else.
My last one is, I know they're probably saving him for the next book or the book after that, but Rook is kind of just there. He doesn't really do much in this book, and you're like...
He does more.
He's like, ooh, I have this super secret invisible assassin, And I guess he's kind of doing the Vader thing in A New Hope, where it's like, yeah, I got this scary guy, and you'll see how scary he is next time.
So no spoilers, but the way he kills that one Imperial officer is terrifying.
That's true.
I think the narration is that like the officer didn't even have time to scream before Rook was already at his throat and he was dead.
Yeah.
And then everybody on the bridge was screaming because of the gore and stuff. I was just like, oh my gosh. So you find out a lot more about the Nogri in the next book.
Mm-hmm. I'm in the middle of that right now. Right
on. And I'm not going to tell you, but Rook is a central character to things that happen later.
Cool.
He's never really a protagonist, but he does big things.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any discussion questions or
do.
points?
Yeah. I think just in this, what do we think that they will use in either Ahsoka Season 2 or...
I've got a whole... Yeah.
So I think we're definitely going to see more Nogri. Well, not definitely. I think it's a possibility that we see more Nogri. I would like to see more Nogri now that Thrawn's back in the main universe. I think that would be cool. I hope we see Ysalamiri in some form or fashion. I don't think we will, but I think it would be really interesting, especially in an Ahsoka-led show. I would love to see a Talon Karrde. I don't think that's a character that is impossible. I think that's a very probable character to see.
Yeah.
If you're taking people. I hope that we see... Well, that's a different discussion question, but...
Okay.
The Sabayoth of it, with Baylan Skoll kind of being repurposed as Sabayoth, I mean, it's completely different, so never mind. But yeah, what other things do you think they're going to use?
We've already seen a lot of things repurposed. We've seen the Interdictor cruisers. We've seen Mount Tantus, Rook, Thrawn. We might return to Mount Tantus. There might be a different Guardian, but I doubt it. Borsk Valaya, the Bothan senator that's basically a douchebag and is trying to undermine everything. He's there. He's Hamada Ziono.
Yeah.
He was on Ahsoka Season 1. I'm curious about the Sparty cloning cylinders. So they establish in this novel that in Mount Tantus there are some Sparty cloning cylinders. They just kind of one-off mention it and you don't get any of it again. You get more in the next book. But it was, when we didn't know what the Clone Wars were at this time, Zahn came up with this thing where you could make clones super fast.
Cool.
You could make them in like hours.
Cool.
With these Sparty cloning cylinders. So, and he talks about in the novel, it's technology for us to rebuild Palpatine's empire. I don't know that we're going to get that, but there's something in the boxes that they're walking onto the Star Destroyer at the end of Ahsoka Season 1.
Oh, yeah.
I think it could just be that those are zombie Night Sisters, and that's going to be Thrawn's Nogri assassin type things. But those boxes, to me, that looked like an army.
Yeah.
I don't know. The raid on the Sluice Van shipyards at the end of this novel, which we didn't even talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Super fun. And Thrawn repurposes this technology he stole from Lando to try and steal the fleet.
Yeah.
And Han and Luke loosely stop him, but basically they have to destroy their own fleet, which is, haunting. And Thrawn's like, yeah, we won. Who cares? We got Mount Tantus. We'll win.
Yeah.
But Filoni has talked about there being a big battle in Ahsoka Season 2, or the biggest he can do on TV. And so I'm wondering if we're going to get a version of the Sluice Van shipyards.
That'd be cool.
Or it could just be that it's the fleet that we have seen so much in Ahsoka Season 1 fighting a fleet that Thrawn puts together in Ahsoka Season 2.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But little moments, the TIE fighters kind of coming out of an exploding freighter.
Yeah.
That's what starts the battle. Like, that's so cinematic. I'm confused. Every time I read that passage, I'm confused as to what's going on.
Or how it
because
works.
they make such a thing out of everybody going, wait, but why is that freighter reading completely empty? That doesn't make sense. And then it blows up and a bunch of TIEs fly out of it. So it's like, did they hyperspace into the freighter? Or if there's an explanation in the book, I missed it.
I haven't.
But that is a very cinematic idea of the ship exploding and a bunch of TIEs just fly out of it like a hornet's nest to start a fight. I would be baffled if Filoni didn't do that, because the maneuver that Thrawn does at the beginning of this novel, where he puts the front of the ship towards the New Republic and has all the ties fly out the back and then come up around the top to kind of swarm the New Republic as they move in on the Star Destroyer's bridge. Ahsoka uses that maneuver in Clone Wars. It's either season 1 or 2, and Filoni has said that he's like, I wanted to put that Thrawn maneuver in there, the Marg Sable, as they call it. And
that's cool.
So it wouldn't surprise me if that's in there.
Yeah.
I hope we get Ysalamiri. I doubt it.
But
I think if you use Ezra Bridger's Dr. Doolittle forciness, I think it's very possible.
Definitely.
That's what I think. That's what I think they'll use. But what other discussion points, questions do you have?
So Palion is in the Shadow Council. He's also canon, if you don't remember. Will the Shadow Council be a bigger thing, do you think, in Season 2? And will Palion re-meet with Thrawn?
I think that Filoni is clearly such a fanboy of this novel and this trilogy that we will absolutely get those two together. Shadow Council, I think. I don't know. It seems like they would be,
'cause you have
but
Hux
I don't
in there too.
know. Yeah. I don't know what all they're saving for Filoni's movie. You know, but they're definitely setting them up to do something. For the Empire to rebuild and try. It seems like all of this is building to one big fight. Where then the Empire is going to get defeated again, and we will see Armitage Hux and a couple others disappear into the unknown regions to go make the First Order.
Right.
Seems like that's what they're doing.
I think so. And another one, Baylan Skoll works so much better than Sabaoth. I think it's mainly because he has a clear motive and a clear want, whereas Sabaoth's you're kind of, I don't know. It might just be that he's just annoying, but do you think there's anything from Sabaoth's, philosophy or wants in this book that Baylan will take over?
See, I had that thought too, because Sabaoth is hunting Luke, Leia, and Leia's kids because he wants Jedi apprentices. Or Dark Jedi, as they were called at this point, because the Sith weren't really a thing yet, because nobody knew what that was. But the only thing that I could think of is, are the Night Sisters going to be hunting Ezra so that they can get an apprentice? But that doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
So, I don't know. I think Baylan Skoll is his own thing.
Yeah.
Unless he's hunting Ahsoka and Sabine to bring them to Mortis. I could see that.
Yeah.
That might be the only version of that takes place. That he's trying to bring them to Mortis and potentially Abeloth.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I have two more.
Cool.
Why is Lando just a mining guy? I don't know. There's something about him leading a mining operation again. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense if that's like your job. And then you're like, hey, my next job is also mining.
He's a legitimate businessman, and that's pretty much what he knows how to do.
Yeah.
So.
And then my last one is, do you think Timothy Zahn likes Han Solo way more than Luke Skywalker?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because most people do.
Yeah.
He gives Luke cool stuff to do, but yeah, he gives Han all the best lines, which, to be fair, it's the same way it is in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
You
also just get way more of Han in this book than you do Luke, I feel like.
Yeah. I think if I remember right, you get a lot more Luke in Dark Force Rising. But I truly don't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah. All right, do you have any discussion questions?
I do. So a couple things. Just fun kind of behind-the-scenes factoid. Originally, Timothy Zahn pitched naming the Nogri the Sith.
Oh, cool.
Because, mild spoiler for the next... Well, no, you found out in this book, if you've read it, the Sith, the Nogri, were Vader's commandos.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's the Dark Lord of the Sith.
And he was always listed as the Dark Lord of the Sith, but George never explained what that was, and nobody really knew what that was. So Zahn pitched, could I just name him the Sith? And Lucasfilm was like, no, that's something else that we can't tell you.
Yeah.
So then he made up Nogri. But when Zahn was writing this book, This was 4 years after West End Games dropped the Star Wars role-playing game.
Cool.
And they established much of the groundwork of what later became the expanded universe. Lucasfilm considered their source book so authoritative that when Zahn was hired to write these novels, he was sent the box of those games and told to make it work with that lore, because they were trying to make it somewhat consistent.
Yeah.
And then the trilogy and the role-playing game launched the expanded universe and really made Star Wars popular again.
Cool.
And they eventually released source books for Zahn's novels for the next two, I think. And I don't remember when those came out, but it was shortly after. Also, Dark Empire came out, that comic where Palpatine returns, came out at about the same time. And Zahn was asked to take that into account, and he straight up said no. So from the beginning, the expanded universe was not a cohesive canon.
Yeah.
It's fact. Sorry. But there's a later Zahn novel. I think it's Spectre of the Future, whatever. Spectre of the Past, whatever. But somebody mentions the Dark Empire stuff, and Mara Jade literally says, yeah, if that even really was Palpatine.
Mm.
And they move on. Zahn never liked that story.
Yeah.
And there was kind of a bit of a tone fight between Dark Empire, the really bombastic, over-the-top, pulpy Star Wars, and Heir to the Empire, the much more grounded, military, character-driven, slower burn story, as for what story style the expanded universe was going to be, and Heir to the Empire essentially won.
Yeah.
But then the other big thing about this novel, I am not trying to dunk on canon when they say this, but you mentioned it earlier in the show. When you are not tied down to a bunch of interconnected continuity, you can take huge swings.
Yeah.
You just can. Like, every canon novel, outside of all the High Republic stuff, where they get to do wild things, and eventually I will read all of it. I hope. Because everything I've read is so good. But, when you're not tied down, in canon, every novel is like a character study.
Yeah.
It is very small. It is kept inside the lines. And it's just you're watching a character make choices that doesn't really affect the rest of the canon.
Yeah.
This is a wide, sweeping galactic epic because Zahn had all the toys to play with, and there was no other canon outside of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because he didn't take into account the Marvel Comics. He didn't take into account the Han and Lando novels. The role-playing game supplements just kind of loosely explained how some things work, and so he brought that into the fold.
Cool.
Right? But that's what's fun about EU novels is they did whatever, because they were sequels to the movies.
Yeah.
Canon novels, because it's all one story, as much as they're trying to make it, they are fill-in-the-gap stories.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the next chapter.
Yeah.
And so, but that's what's fun about this. And maybe I'll talk about this eventually, but just for fun, I've started to kind of put together my favorite stories as what's canon to me.
Mm.
What Star Wars canon is Star Wars canon.
Right.
But when these stories are all made up anyway, I'm kind of building my own fun continuity that I might just keep to myself, but it's a fun creative exercise.
Yeah.
Because there's ways that you could just kind of wink and squint and still make the sequel trilogy work. It's, they were off screen.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm a nerd and I think it's fun. But Zach.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts for Heir to the Empire.
Yeah, so this is my first time reading it. Check that off in my nerd card. I'm very glad to have read it. It is a novel that keeps you interested, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read it before, I highly recommend it, especially if you're wanting that original trilogy just vibe. It has that vibe. It is so... I don't know. I remember starting this and being like, well, hell yeah, let's go. You know, like, great. Yeah. It's Luke, Han, and Leia, and they're all through. Like, it's so good. It's really great. I know we had kind of end these on dislikes and discussion questions, but I want to bring it back. Like, this book is so good. Like, it's really, really wonderful. I'm partway through the second book, and it's also second book starts moving even faster than the first. You're like, okay, cool, let's go. But yeah. Oh,
the second book if I remember right, it begins so awesome.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're looking for some Star Wars that isn't canon but vastly influences it, read this. So
yeah, give it a go. Closing thoughts is that we have seen, like I said at the top, we have seen so many things from this novel all over canon, and we're going to continue to see things because it is intentional on Dave Filoni's part to set the Mandoverse, as fans call it, beginning 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which is the exact same place that this novel begins.
Yeah.
And when we know that he brought in Thrawn to Rebels, obviously. There were discussions of bringing Thrawn into Clone Wars. He loves this character. He loves this story. He loves this version of Thrawn, which is something that I'm just going to kind of leave as a seed that we will sprout fruit with later. But this version of Thrawn is what Dave Filoni clearly knows and loves, and I'll talk about the other version of Thrawn later. But this novel, in and of itself, it is a slow burn at times, but when it hits, and when it is cinematic, it is wildly cinematic and fun.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Cool.
Read Heir to the Empire.
Yeah.
And Zach, let's you got something else to say? You got something else?
No, I think that's good.
Let them know where how they can get involved with what they just watched or listened to.
Yeah. Well, if you want to watch or listen to Heir of the Empire, Audible or the first book, if you have a Spotify membership, is on there as well. So if you're already paying for Spotify, go listen to it. If you want to get involved with us, please email us, forceofothersradio@gmail.com. Get in the comments, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, but just interact with us any way you can. We got an Instagram, we got YouTube, we're everywhere. But yeah, reach out to us, ask us questions, we'll throw you on the show. We have a lot of interviews coming up, so a lot of interviews. Holy crap. So excited. But yeah, get involved and we'll get you involved. Anything else for you,
I
Matt?
like that. Get involved and we'll get you involved. Just if you're in the Fort Worth area, go see The Force Awakens live in concert. If you can get out to Martin House Brewing Company on Saturday, they're having a whole Star Wars party from noon to 5. Lance and I will be there at some point, walking around, drinking beer, and just hanging out. It's going to be a whole Star Wars-y day. But if there was anything else I had to say, I have forgotten about it. So everybody make sure you remember, the Force of others will be with you.
Always. The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast. There's a quick one today.
All right, Cubs fans. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Take the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if we ever get back, 'cause it's root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes here.